Why I believe the Bible is true. Alright, some people say that believing in the Bible is like believing in mythology. Some people say the Bible is only written by humans, therefore unreliable. Some say that the Bible is erroneous due to multiple handwritten copies. Now, is that true? Let's see. This is why I think the Bible is true. Number 1. 39 different writers from different time eras and generations of 1500 years apart from different cultures, continents, languages, educational backgrounds, occupations. They all wrote about their experiences and characteristics of God in a uniform manner. The texts of who God is and how God operates do not contradict, but can cross-reference from one writer to another. The picture of who God is do not contradict among the 39 writers. Okay, but then some would say, of course, it would be uniform. Some books were filtered off when translating King James. Well, you can filter off all of them and have only 2 to 3 writers and their testimonies about experiencing God, and any cross-referential commonality between at least 2 writers would judicially be considered a valid account. But the Bible has at least 39. The picture of who God is and acts in Genesis doesn't contradict how Jesus acted or will act in Revelation. Number 2. The Bible contains the most humanistically impossible fulfilled prophecies. While most people make vague predictions like Nostradamus, biblical predictions are more specific and documented to have occurred. Here's just a few. A. The birthplace of Jesus. It was written in 700 BC that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. Who knew that Bethlehem would still exist 700 years from now? Who knew if New York or Tokyo would still be around 700 years from today? B. Jesus would come from Egypt as predicted in 700 BC by Hosea. C. In 500 BC, it was predicted that Jesus would be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. D. In 1410 BC, it was predicted that Jesus' clothes would be gambled for. In around 700 BC, also by Isaiah, it was predicted that Jesus would be whipped and beaten. F. In around 1410, it was predicted that Jesus would be pierced through. G. Also in around 1410, through the Psalms, the Messiah would not have any broken bones. H. After death, he would be buried in a rich man's grave, also predicted in 700 BC. See, Jesus actually fulfilled more than 48 prophecies. The chances of fulfilling just 8 of those prophecies, such as those mentioned above, by any human would be 10 to the 17th power. That's like the chances of filling the entire area of Texas with 2 feet of silver dollars, marking one coin, randomly dropping it anywhere in Texas, blindfolding a person, and then have that person randomly choose one coin, and that one coin would be the marked one. If Jesus was faking the prophecies, would he have the power to manipulate where he was born, events of his life, or where he would die? Okay, so what if those prophecies were just inserted in the Old Testament? Well, that's what many thought until the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. In the scrolls were the writings of the Old Testament, verifying today's versions are well preserved. How did they know they were not manipulated? Within those scrolls were coins, currency dating 100 years before Christ. No one had touched or manipulated those scrolls ever since. Why? Because if that had been the case, all the money from that civilization would have been confiscated. 3. The Gospels are accurate. How do we know the Gospels are accurate? A. At a time when followers of Christ were being killed, would the disciples decide one day to make up a figure and pretend Jesus fulfilled all those prophecies? Would people die for something they knew was a lie? B. At a time when followers of Christ were being killed, would people continue to mass-produce manuscripts about a resurrected Jesus, knowing that believing in such would cost them their lives? C. At the time, there were enough witnesses to see Jesus die, and also to Jesus resurrect. Thus, in the process and reproducing of manuscripts, if Jesus didn't resurrect, would not someone have edited it to show what actually happened? That Jesus really probably didn't resurrect? Same as 9/11. If someone wrote something wrong, it would easily be edited out before further production. But there are a lot of manuscripts. D. Even though a variety of people have recorded different aspects of an event, it doesn't nullify that the events didn't happen. Just because people have different accounts of what happened to them during 9/11 doesn't mean 9/11 didn't occur. Just because people have different accounts of what happened when Jesus lived, died, and resurrected doesn't mean they didn't occur. Remember, the commonality among multitudes of accounts verify that the details of a certain event is real. E. If the disciples made up the Gospels, they could have easily used more popular names such as Peter, Mary, or Andrew, but instead they chose a tax collector and a fisherman. F. While the manuscripts in our history books, such as the Gallic Wars, Pliny's Natural History, Plato, Tacitus's Annals, are all based on only 7 to 20 manuscripts, and the earliest we find are dated 1,000 years after the event's occurrence, the Bible's events are based on 50,000 plus manuscripts, and the earliest dating is only 50 years after the events of the Gospels. The book of John is found in Egypt. The earliest manuscript we have is 125 AD. Okay, number 4. The Bible contains scientifically advanced statements for its time. For example, A. In 700 BC, it was already written that the earth is round. By the way, in Hebrew, the word circle came from a word that means spherical. The word sphere didn't exist in 1612. B. In 2000 BC, it was already written that the earth hangs on nothing and sits on nothing, while some people believed Atlas or an elephant carried the earth. C. In 600 BC, Jeremiah already wrote that the stars are innumerable. Ancient scientists such as Hipparchus and Kepler thought that the stars could not be numbered. Not until a telescope was invented was the Bible proven correct. D. In 2000 BC, someone had already recorded there are underwater springs. How would anybody have known that? C. Around 935 BC, King Solomon recorded that the winds traveled in circular motion. How would he have known that without meteorologists' analysis on TV? F. In around 1405, Joshua records destroying a thick wall through a scientific property called resonance. How did Joshua or the writer know that constant resonance, the same resonance that Paul Linings discovered in 1928 that collapses a bridge, would cause a thick city wall to come down? And not only that, how would Joshua or the writer know that sound oscillations are so powerful enough that it can cause massive destruction, just like subwoofers? So, do you really think humans back then made up these scientific facts? Then if you look at other books, let's say the Quran, it reveals some unscientific facts, such as in Surah 1886, it says that this person traveled far enough to where the sun goes and into the earth, and the sun goes into a muddy spring. That's not scientifically accurate. Number 5, archaeology. Archaeological findings support that the biblical records are accurate. Many critics try to belittle the Bible by saying, oh, where's Babylon? Where's Nineveh? Where are those external writings about the all-famous King David? Or Jesus Christ? Or anybody ever said Jesus Christ is God outside of the Bible? If the Bible is so real, why don't extra biblical references exist? Well, we have unearthed Babylon, we have unearthed Nineveh. In 1995, the stone with King David's inscription was discovered, and that even Time magazine wrote about it. In December 2005, a church was unearthed in Megiddo that had on it described a dedication which says, Akeptis, the devout, dedicated the table of God, Jesus Christ, as a memorial, which you can find more information about on foxnews.com. And also, a famous archaeologist, Dr. Nelson Gluck, he said, it may be stated categorically that no archaeological discovery has ever controverted a biblical reference. Scores of archaeological findings have made it which confirm in clear outline or in exact detail. Proper evaluation led to amazing discoveries. See, the Bible's accuracy is so well trusted by many archaeologists that it even has been used as a map to make many more discoveries. Okay, so in conclusion, what other book, religious book, mythology book, contains all these attributes? See, this is why the Bible is not just a book or collection of books. It was written and inspired by a higher being. Like all things, there is a purpose. While all religions tell you to earn your righteousness with a checklist of do's and don'ts, the Bible teaches that you can never complete the checklist to solve your problem of sin. Thus, a Savior had to come down to save us. The Old Testament testifies of man's wickedness. The New Testament testifies of a risen Savior in a forgiving God. Thank you.